My name is Brad McEntire. I am a touring fringe theater artist. I mostly take one-person shows around North America, and this video that I'm showing you is from 2018. I went to the Nanaimo Fringe Festival for the second time, and I decided to bring a camera along and document my journey. So this video is for anybody out there who is thinking about going on a fringe, perhaps up to Canada, one of the smaller Canadian fringe festivals. And this is just my experience. I took my show Robert's Eternal Goldfish, which is about a very misanthropic man who becomes the unlikely custodian of a magical goldfish which will not die, and it basically haunts him into being a better person. It's like a very dark comedy. I want to thank everybody who subscribed so far to Brad McEntire Plays. I would very much like to express gratitude for having you here and assure you that things will get better. I realize the quality of my videos could use some improvement, and so I am slowly figuring things out here and beefing up the quality as well as the quantity as we go forward. So thanks for those that have joined so far. Upward and onward. Anyway, enjoy. Mid-August 2018. I head to Seattle, Washington, where I am going to go from there to British Columbia. I am participating in a fringe festival, a theater festival in Nanaimo, which is a little town north of Victoria and across the Strait of Georgia from Vancouver. Anyway, I'm heading to Seattle first because A, it's cheaper to fly to Seattle within the United States than it is to Canada, but also because I'm hooking up with my friend Grant Knutson, who is going to drive me across the Canadian border to catch the ferry to take to Nanaimo. Grant actually came with me back in 2015, and he was at that time a producer of the show that I took last time. Anyway, we got to the Canadian border, and when we got there, Grant realized that his passport expired that very day. And so he was faced with the choice of to handle that in Canada or go back home to Seattle and handle renewing his passport. So he opted to drop me off at the ferry in Tawasin and then head back across to the United States. Technically, he's a U.S. citizen, so they have to let him back in, of course, but he's a little bit nervous, and I don't blame him. I would have been nervous. I would have wanted to have been back home. Anyway, that's a sad Grant right there. Coincidentally, last time I took this trip, Grant and I got separated from each other before I got on the ferry, and we didn't take the ferry across to Nanaimo that time either. So history kind of repeats itself. I really enjoyed the ferry ride. It's very pretty, although this time, actually the whole time I was in Canada in mid-August, there was this haze in the air. I think it was because of the forest fires, but everything was smoky and hazy, and the air was sort of thick, like basically the whole time I was there, mostly. But you definitely could tell out on the water. It wasn't bright and shiny and lots of beautiful colors. It was kind of hazy and smoky. I really like the BC ferries. They're these rather comfortable ferry boats where you can park your car on the lower level, but since I was on foot, I had to keep all of my belongings with me the whole time. That was kind of an inconvenience, but I carried my bags with me. I wasn't traveling heavy. I tried to hang out on deck for a little while, but it was super windy, and the wind was loud and whipping around. So instead, I went inside and just read my Kindle and ate a French dip sandwich or something. The ferry ride wasn't very long, and then we eventually arrived in Nanaimo, which, not having come across with Grant, I didn't have a ride from the ferry stop into town, which I didn't realize was a problem until I got to the ferry stop and the ferry station right there, and I had to call a cab. Unfortunately, I had not changed any money from American to Canadian, and none of the ATMs were working that I was trying to use. So I was kind of trapped there in the station for a little while. Eventually, I got a cab, and I headed into the city. I'm now in Nanaimo, British Columbia, and it's my first day of the Nanaimo Fringe. I am staying with my friends Val and Dave, and they have bequeathed me this excellent bicycle so that I can tool around the city, and I'm very, very grateful for it. I have a tech later today, and then my first show. The show that I've brought, Robert's Eternal Goldfish, actually doesn't have very much tech involved. It's lights up, lights down. But I'm going to go hang up posters and put out postcards and get ready for that, and then do the show a little bit later today. First day, Nanaimo Fringe. I've heard there are two ways to break a horse. The first way to break a horse is to take the horse from the time it's young, and it's a colt, and to raise it gently, to treat it tenderly, speak to it softly, and over time the horse gets used to having humans around it, and then eventually on top of it. When it comes time, you don't have to make the horse go any particular direction. The horse naturally wants to go where the rider wants it to go. And the horse thinks that it genuinely wants to go this way because it's been manipulated over time. This is the way of the horse whisperers. The other way to break a horse is to shake a bag of cans by its face, to bang on a drum, to make loud noises, this horrible cacophony, and to do this over and over and over and over and over again. The horse hates this. The horse fights. But eventually, if it keeps up, if it becomes repetitive enough or long enough, the horse exhausts itself. Eventually, the horse submits. It allows itself to be dominated. I call this submission through frustration. I'm not a horse whisperer. It's Nanaimo Fringe Day 2. And I have a show about 4:15 this afternoon. It is a little after 3 in the afternoon. I thought I'd walk down and shoot this here on the wharf where all the boats are docked. So check this out. Yeah, one thing I will say about Nanaimo, British Columbia, it is a very picturesque, quaint place. So there's seagulls flying overhead, and the weather's beautiful, and the water's lapping up against the rocks out here. Anyway, I'm having a good time. I'm going to continue fringing. While I was in Nanaimo, I pretty much lived on pizza by the slice. One of my favorite places was this place, Mambo Pizza. They were kind enough to let me hang up a poster, so I frequented their establishment and had pretty much a slice or two every day. It is Fringe Day 3. This is Thursday. I'm at Nanaimo, British Columbia, and I'm about to head into town and get ready for my show. I have a show at 7:45 tonight. It's an evening show. The last 2 days I've been performing at 4 or 5 o'clock. Today I've just basically sat around and checked emails, and I took a nap, and I did laundry, and I went to the store down the road to get some food and some water. I'm always conscious when I'm traveling that sometime midway through the trip one has to kind of repack the bags, clean up laundry, and get clothes cleaned, and kind of plan the downhill slide of the trip. And so today has been that day to get everything in order so that the last part of the Fringe here can go very smooth. After today I have 2 more shows, and I'm looking forward to it. About to rock it out.
You know what? Compare! Your job is to sit there and just listen. I spin the yarn, you wear the sweater. That's the deal, people. Who's telling the story? I'm telling the story. If I leave little bits and pieces out, it doesn't matter, all right? Your job is to sit there, all of you, and you get what you get. Welcome. My name is Robert J. Roberts. Yeah, I know. This little get-together, not my idea. You people being here, not my idea. If you'll tell me your name.
My name is Charlotte Wright.
And what do you do here with the Nanaimo Fringe?
So I am the event manager and the volunteer coordinator of the Nanaimo Fringe Festival.
Okay, and what do you like about Fringe theater?
What don't I like about Fringe theatre? I love that it's a gamble, really. I mean, when you go and see a show, it could be the best piece of theatre that you've ever seen, or it could be not the best piece of theatre that you've ever seen. I love that it's uncensored, it's unjuried, you know, the world is your oyster when it comes to the Fringe.
There you go. All right. So I'm at the theater. I'm getting ready for my 3rd show. I just wanted to give a view of the space that I'm in. I'm in the Vancouver Island Conference Center, and the Fringe show that I'm performing, Robert's Eternal Goldfish, is in a ballroom, a meeting room. So here, take a look around. Anyway, there was a street fair out front, along the main street out in front of the conference center. So I handed out a bunch of flyers before my show tonight. Hopefully we'll be deluged with dozens and dozens of patrons. Anyway, Nanaimo Fringe 2018. Unfortunately, we were not deluged with audience members that particular night for the performance. Speaking of performances, I did make it out to see several other Fringe shows while I was at this Nanaimo Fringe Festival, including a lady named Colleen, who was presenting a show called 10 Tips for a Collapsed Uterus. As you can see, I was probably not the demographic for this particular show.
These are my 10 tips for a collapsed uterus. Apologies to the men. Little outdoor sports? Why not?
Also caught a duo of street performers named Clever Trevor and Mr. P. They weren't super tight, but they involved a lot of the audience.
2, 1.
And then I also, in my own venue, there was a guy named Fat Matt who billed himself as the world's fattest contortionist, and he had a very enjoyable but raunchy show. Probably the best show I saw was called After the Beep. It was also in my venue. It was by Pamela Bethel, and she was very low-key in her delivery, but she was very, very engaging as a storyteller. Her show utilized PowerPoint and computers, and it was all based off these old answering machine tapes that she had since childhood. In all, I saw about half of the other shows in this relatively small festival. To my knowledge, none of the other performers came to see my shows. In fact, by the end of the festival, I was just pleased that at least the two main organizers of the festival actually did come out to see me perform, since I was invited to this particular festival. Anyway, when I wasn't flyering or postering or performing or seeing other shows, I hung out at The Vault, which was a coffee shop right there in the middle of Nanaimo, which had great coffee, great cider. The technician in my space was a really nice guy named Justice, but he didn't have anything really to do. He did see my show every time, but my show was pretty much lights up, lights down. It's the second to last day of the Fringe here in Nanaimo, and I am backstage, which is a back hallway here in this kind of conference room, getting ready to go on stage. I have about 15 minutes till house opens. It's been kind of a low-key day. Today I kind of hunkered down in a coffee shop and did computer work for the bulk of the day, and did a lot of reading and answered emails and things like that. And Grant and his wife Heather finally made their way up here to Canada, and they've been taking in shows all day. Grant's who originally drove me up to catch the ferry over here to Nanaimo from Seattle, and so I'm glad to have them in town. So there'll be lots of talking shop and drinking beer in the future. So that's a good thing. Anyway, rocking on. My family went on a vacation together. My mom, my sister, my dad, myself. We decided to go on a cruise. I'm not sure if you're familiar with how a cruise works, but let me give it to you in a nutshell. You get on a giant boat with hundreds and hundreds of strangers. You ride around in the ocean, you eat your body weight in food every single day, and then you come back to the exact spot you left from! That's a cruise! As I floated there in the water, eye level with the waves, I felt this little ember start to well up in me, in the very core of me, and it grew hotter and hotter and more intense and larger, this little ball of hate. And it just grew within me until it rose up, and I swear steam rose off the crystal blue waters all around me, these little vapors of hate! The last full day of the Fringe was very eventful. I went to a exhibit of old B-movie posters at the White Room, which is an arts venue, very small, really kind of neat little second floor arts venue, arts space, run by the people that are hosting me in my billet, Val and Dave. Then after that, there was a kind of a closing night party held by the Fringe organizers. Actually, this honestly was the first time that I met the other performers, most of them. Anyway, Grant and Heather came along and they handed out awards. I was given a rock that said "Magically Mad" in reference to my show. Everybody drank wine and talked shop, and it was a nice little closing night party. It was really pleasant. Anyway, it was a nice wind-up to the festival. The next day, we boarded the ferry to go back across to this time we didn't go to Tawasin, we went to Vancouver, and we all got on the ferry at the same time, Grant, his wife, and myself, so, thumbs up on that. I'd never been to Vancouver, to tell the truth. I literally just arrived in Vancouver for the first time on this particular day, and it was very scenic, and I will have to go back and visit sometime. Anyway, we drove back from Vancouver back to the border, and then back to Seattle, and I actually got up the next day and caught a lift, my first lift I've ever gotten, actually. I got the app on my phone, to catch the light rail, and the light rail I took to the train station because I couldn't get a ride. Grant and Heather were busy that day, so I couldn't get a ride to the airport, so I had to take myself to the airport, which is okay. I'm self-sufficient. It was a very kind of a nice little ride as well, although the sky was still cloudy even in Seattle from the forest fires pretty much the whole time. I stood in the longest possible line I have ever been in for airport security at the Seattle airport. It literally wound around the entire terminal. It was ridiculous. But I got there early, so I made my flight and flew back to Dallas, Texas, and arrived with my one bag in tow and my little backpack, and Ruth was there to pick me up from the airport, and it was a good adventure overall at the Nanaimo Fringe Festival 2018. When I got back home, I immediately started teaching the next day and went back to the grind. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. Hey, I just want to reiterate, thanks for watching. If you want to support me and my work, feel free to check the links in the description. That will take you to my page on Amazon, where you can buy one of my books, including my book, Crafting the Solo Show, which talks about creating and performing and touring with a one-person production on stage. Anyway, any support is helpful. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Until next time.